ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Among the many entities which we refer to as I, aham, whether it is body, sense organs, individual sense organ or collectively all sense organs, mind, intellect, or ahankara, and their sanghata. Among all these, who am I? This is generally our question. And in last few verses, Acharya explained that I am the drashta and not the drishya. I am the jnata and not the jnaya. I am the illuminator of all these deha, indriya, prana, mana, buddhi, ahankara, etc. And not any one of these, because they all become an object of knowledge. So I am the subject. And that subject is called a Sakshi. Now this Sakshi, the drashta itself, is the Awastha traya vilakshana, that which is distinct from the three states of experiences: waking, dream and deep sleep. And that which is not part of the three states of experiences, neither the waker, dreamer or deep sleeper, nor the waking mind, dreaming mind or asleep mind, nor any object which is experienced in these three states, then that which is different from all these is called Turiya. So Turiya is not a fourth Avastha, but it is a fourth identity of Atma with respect to the three identities that we already know. The waker identity, otherwise known as Vishwa, the dreamer identity, otherwise known as Taijasa, and the deep sleeper identity, otherwise known as Prajna. So different from all of these is Turiya, and that I am. In other words, whenever I think I am waker or dreamer or deep sleeper, I have to negate that identity. And this is a constant sadhana. Until I never identify myself as waker, dreamer or deep sleeper. Means I am in waking state now. I am going through waking experiences. I am having objects which are available in waking state. I had nice dream or I had nightmare. I slept very well. All these ideas are for ahankara, not for Atma. So by being alert and distinguishing myself from these three, I will be able to remain that Sakshi of Avastha. So now Acharya is taking up Avastha viveka from shloka number 21 to reveal Turiya. Avastha viveka to reveal Turiya. And for that, now he is going to use first waking state, and in waking state he is using a metaphor to explain the Turiya Atma. Atmagner indhana buddhi ravidya kama karma bihi dīpita prajvalatyesha dvāraihi shrotrādibhi sada. The metaphor is like a big yajna going on in our daily life, and that yajna is where constant oblations are going on. And these constant oblations are offered in one Havan Kund where there is fire kindled. So the Havan Kund is like Buddhi, and in this Buddhi there is Atma Agni. Atma Agni is in the form of not literally Atma Agni, but the consciousness of Atma is expressed in Buddhi as Pramata, experiencer. The Jagrat Pramata, in waking state, he will be Jagrat Pramata. So the consciousness of Atma is expressed in Buddhi as Pramata, and that enlivened intellect is now getting oblations, offerings from 5 priests you call, or 5 yajamana, and they are nothing but 5 sense organs, the organs of perception, where constantly jnanam, oblation in the form of Vishaya jnanam, is coming. And this Buddhi gets more and more oblations because of avidya, Kaama and Karma. So as avidya, Kaama, Karma increases, the oblations are also there more and more. Means more Vishayas are available, and varieties of flames keep coming out in that Pramata Buddhi, enlivened by Atma's consciousness. Atma which is conscious. Atma's consciousness means Atma which is consciousness, Chaitanya, that illumines it. So now see the shloka. Esha Buddhi, this intellect, Atmagnehe indhana, Atmagni of this Atmagni means the Atma Chaitanya, by that indhana, illumined by that, by this indhan, by this fuel, lit up by that, idhyate, prakashyate buddhi. So now it is available for all sorts of transactions, because otherwise buddhi is jada. It cannot do any jnana vyavahara, and therefore in the absence of jnana vyavahara, the karmendriyas and the prana cannot do karma vyavahara also. So when this intellect is lit up by that, and then there is avidya, kama and karma. This is the favorite phrase of Bhagavan, Bhashyakara. Not knowing who I am, ignorance of my true nature will lead to desires. Not knowing that I am infinite, I entertain the ideas of getting objects from the world and somehow attaining infinitude. So we may not actually know what we are attempting through enjoyment of objects. But what we are trying to do is something is seriously lacking in us. And we want to fill that gap. We want to make up for that. And so for that what I do is, with the help of Vishayas, the objects, I try to attain fulfillment. But I will never be successful because all the Vishayas, they have their limitations. They will give enjoyment along with sorrows also. They will never make me content. They all will be temporary. And they will have only relative importance. So at a particular time, now let us say all these masks are suddenly so important. 1 year back, nobody even knew that there is some such thing existing and we have to wear, called mask. And probably after some time, nobody will know. Right now they have importance, so they have value. So like that, anything in the world will have some relative importance. All Vishayas. All the time they will not have the same amount of ability to give joy. To same person also. What to talk of different people. So avidya, then kamana. And once I have these kamanas for Vishayas, then I run after objects. That is called karma. So through avidya, kama, karma, Buddhi, with the help of the illumination from Atma, Deepita, it is now shining, flamed up, and then Shrotradibihi dvaraihi sada prajwalati. With the offerings coming from Shrotra, so all the Indriyas, Shrotrendriya, Shabda Vishaya keeps coming as an oblation. Tvagindriya, the skin, so there the touch, various kinds of touch experiences. And we want to have smooth touch or sometimes cool touch, etc. When it is very cold, then we need warmth. So different kind of touch experience. Then forms and colors we want to see, varieties. Imagine if everything is only clay color, geru it is called. Geru means the dirt, sand, not sand but like the clay. Everything of clay color. The brownish. So Mahatmas in some ashrams like in Kailash and all, they don't wear orange because orange has shine. Sannyas means they say that you should not wear shining clothes. You should wear dull clothes. So dull clothes means like the clay color, like how clay pot is, something similar to that. And that's why if you see, all buildings in such ashrams are all clay color, reminding again and again, all this is nothing but dust only, clay, mritika. So with the various vishayas, so that's why people want to see different colors. See, what is this dull color? What is this always brownish? So they want variety in colors, in forms. And then food, taste, varieties of taste. So, Shrotradibihi Dwaraihi Indriyaihi, all these Indriyas, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa and Gandha also, smell, varieties of fragrance. And people want to avoid stinking smell, etc. By this Buddhi is Prajwalati. It is shining. It is this fire with these oblations continues to grow. In this way, there is homa going on continuously. In waking state is constantly one or the Vishaya or multiple Vishayas offering at the same time. Like how in Homa Kunda, different dravyas, some grains, some pieces of wood, some cow dung cakes, some coconut shells, and ghee. So many things constantly are getting offered to keep the fire glowing. In this way, in our waking state also, constantly some or the other Vishaya comes and Buddhi is occupied with that. And these Vishayas, how they come, so in the olden days they had different example, but for modern students, you imagine in a dark room, let's say there are a lot of objects, but the entire room is dark. And then we are given a thick laser beam torch. And so any object that we want to know, you just turn on that flashlight, the torch light, and put the laser beam on that, and immediately that object will become known. And there you can see a ray of beam passing from the torch all up to Vishaya. Like this, the Buddhi illumination, as though all objects that are there in its vicinity, in its proximity, all of them are being illumined, known. So this is the metaphor in the waking of these constant oblations being offered. And with this, the Jagrat Pramata, so Atma identified with waking state and this Buddhi, because remember, the waking state is not for Atma. The waking state is not for body. The waking state is for Buddhi. When Buddhi is awake, then I say I am awake. So, when Atma is identified with this Buddhi which is awake, then that Atma is called Vishwaha. And this Vishwaha becomes experiencer of gross objects, Sthula Bhuk. So that is said now in the next shloka 22. क्षयैर्हविषा दीप्ता ह्यात्माग्निः स्थूलभुक्तदा यदा बुद्धिः दक्षिणाक्षि प्रधानेषु विचेष्टते, when the intellect is vicheshtate means is doing vyapara, acts. Literal meaning is it acts, means it is doing transactions, it is interacting with objects. Buddhi vicheshtate. When dakshinakshi pradhaneshu, dakshina means right, akshi means eye. So here, when the buddhi is in the right eye, means in the waking state, because in our shastra it is said that in the waking state the experiencer is in the right eye. Now you will say, what is this? Experiencer is in the right eye. Experiencer is everywhere in the entire physical body. Yes, that is true. But what we have to understand is that for a human being in general, the right limbs are strong. In different countries, they might have different ideas, but in our India, general thinking is that right limbs are the main strong limbs for the person, and that's why most of the important tasks and all we do with right eyes. Eating, writing, lifting, carrying anything, we use right hand first. And in that, among all the right limbs, majority of vyavahara, the jnana vyavahara, is through eyes, seeing. And therefore, it is said that pramata is in the right eye. And to explain this further, Gaudapadacharya ji, in his Mandukya Karika, he has said that Dakshinakshi मुखे विश्वो मनस्यन्तस्तु तैजसः आकाशे च हृदि प्राज्ञस्त्रिधा देहे व्यवस्थितः. So Vishwa is in the Dakshinaksha. Dakshinaksha means in the right eye. Taijasa is in the mind. Manasi antastu Taijasaha. And Akashe cha hridi prajna. Prajna is in Akasha. That means Hridaya Akasha. Hridaya Akasha means is when everything goes to sleep. So the Atma is now not available for any vyavahara through body, through Buddhi. In this way, that all pervading one reality in waking is in the right eye, in dream in the mind, and in deep sleep in the antakarana, where it is in dormant state. So in this way, it is presented in Mandukya Karika. So Dakshinakshi Pradhaneshu means in the right eye, Means in the waking state, when Atma is identified with Buddhi, which is in waking state, then that intellect Havisha Vishayaihi Deepta Tada. At that time, with the Havis that is entered, the offerings which are offered in the Buddhi, which are nothing but Vishayas, the objects of experiences, the Atmagni is Pradipta. Atmagni here, we have to remember, it is not the Mukhya Atma here, Atma which is identified with Buddhi. That Atma we are talking here as Pramata. So, with the Pramata Agni, means I, the experiencer Bhava, is so strong at that time. When there are Vishayas, we have to notice this. This happens in us. And when certain Vishayas are there, my experiencer Bhava becomes very strong. When some other Vishayas are there, I am not that fascinated by them, and therefore I don't feel like I am experiencer. Even with people, in the presence of some people, you feel like you are actually experiencer. Means you are strongly liking their presence or strongly disliking their presence. Whereas if there are some other people, you don't care also if they are existing or not existing. So this I am experiencer, this bhava becomes strong with certain Vishayas. Certain places are also like that. They make us strong experiencer. So, whereas other places, I am not that keen on experiencing anything. I am just generally there. Experiences may be there, but my identification as experiencer is not there. So this Atma Agni means my Pramatritva is Pradipta because of the intellect, and therefore Tada, at that time this Atma is Sthulabhuk, experiencer of gross objects, and through that experience joys and sorrows keep coming. So Sthulabhuk. Bhokta I become in waking as Pramata. And at that time, if I am alert enough to recognize that I, the Atma, am not associated with this intellect, I am different, then I will be Turiya. If I identify with intellect, then I will become Vishwa. So same Atma, when identified with intellect, becomes Vishwa. When not identified, is Turiya. Now this waking state explanation he concludes here with this, the oblation metaphor he concludes. Huyante tu havim shiti rupadigrahane smaran aragadvesha atmagnau Jagrat doshairna lipyate. So during the experiences of the waking state, Rupadi Grahane means Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. But remember why he says Rupadi? Because Rupa Grahanam is done through the eyes, and because at that time in waking, Atma as though as experiencer is in the right eye, therefore Rupadi Grahane to indeed Aragadveshaha, this experiencer, if he has no raga, no dvesha, means he is neutral to all vishayas, not strong likes, strong dislikes, araga dvesha, means he is a great sadhaka, then this will happen. Or as far as true Atma is concerned, there is no raga dvesha for any object. As pramata, raga dveshas will come. So araga dvesha havimshi atmagnau huyante. Havimshi, so without any raga dvesha, havimshim in the havish. So the offerings, the oblations, Atmagnau, in the Atmagni, they are huyante, they are being offered. So the pramata is experiencing them. And if I can remember that I am witness of this, all the offerings are made to this Vishwa, the Sthula Bhuk, in the form of Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Shabda, Sparsha, etc. And I am not having any raga for any Vishaya, any Dvesha for any Vishaya. I am not associated with any of them. So neither I have raga dvesha for Vishaya, nor I have any objects. And the intellect, pramatritva, experiencerhood, that also I do not have. So neither I have raga dvesha for Vishaya, nor I am the pramata. I am only illuminator, fire. Then Jagrat doshaihi nalipyate. Then that Turiya Atma is not affected by Jagrat dosha. So in this way, Smaran, I have to remember. Constantly I have to be alert about myself being Turiya, not identified with Jagrat Buddhi. And it is Jagrat Buddhi which has all the vyavahara in the form of oblations, offerings, etc. So when I do not get identified, then as Turiya, I do not get affected by punya papa, sukha dukkha. In other words, I am not Jagrat Awastha abhimaani, I am not Jagrat pramata, and therefore I do not have Jagrat Vishaya and Vishaya Anubhava. All this is not there in me, the Sakshi illuminator, which we already understood earlier through Drigdrishya Viveka and now through this Jagrat Awastha. Then nalipyate, na samshlishyate, is not affected by any of the experiences of waking. Here he concludes the explanation for waking state. Now he is going to take up dream state for elaboration, which we will see in the next session. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punaha Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम।